I want to share with you some of the lessons I have learned and I'm still learning about prayer. One of the lessons I've learned is that we need to be careful what we pray for. It is entirely different to pray about a thing and to pray for a thing. And I feel it is okay to pray about everything, but it is not okay to pray for everything. When you pray about a thing, you are making inquiry to know what exactly to pray for. But when you pray for a thing, it is assumed you know what God's stand is and you are insisting on it. You can't pray effectively for a thing without knowing what to pray for. That is why sometimes I consider studying the Bible a form of prayer, simply because it helps you know what to pray for. Studying the Bible opens your mind to knowing what exactly to pray for. I've also learned that we need to be careful what we repeatedly ask of God. You can receive a thing, but that doesn't mean it was the will of God. You can't always judge a prayer by its answer. While it is true that many times in His kindness, God withholds granting what we foolishly or selfishly request. James chapter 4 verse 3 says, "Ye ask and receive not, because ye ask amiss, that ye may consume it upon your lust." There are plenty of biblical examples where God eventually grants the persistent yet imprudent prayer of His people. If you repeatedly ask for a thing, you will eventually receive it. It is called the law of persistence. Consider Israel's repeated cry for a king. "We want to be like every other nation," they relentlessly sniveled. So at last God said, "Fine, here you go." God answered their prayer with exactly the type of leader they requested, but it certainly wasn't in their best interest. So the fact you received it doesn't mean it was God's will for you. We may think of God giving non-Christians over to their sin when they are obstinate in chasing what is wrong. But how often do we Christians doggedly pursue our own interest in our prayer lives without sincerely following Christ's example of tempering every prayer request with, "Nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done"? We need to learn to be flexible in our asking. Never insist on a thing if you don't know what God's will is about it. Never take a stand if you are not sure if this is what God's will is. The best thing to do in such situation is first pray about it and not for it. We must also learn to be honest and humble about our limitations. The fact we don't know is not a crime. You have to learn to be humble and say, "I don't know so much about this thing and I want to know more about it." We may not know what is actually best. We need to be less obstinate concerning our prayer request and more trusting that God may have a different path or some creative means to accomplish His will in our life. So pray and be specific, but always end your prayer with a malleable heart and believe that God knows best how to lead and direct His children. Thank you for taking out this time with me. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel and put on the notification bell so that when next I post a video, you would see it and be part of it. God bless you and have an amazing life.